I'm Caleb, just an ordinary handyman, but one $500 job, which seemed simple enough, changed my entire life. One knock on a door, one conversation, and one unexpected question from her. Do you think I deserve to be happy? Stick around to hear how a routine workday became the start of an unforgettable journey. I'm Caleb, 32, living in the suburbs of Denver, Colorado. For over a decade, I've been a handyman, fixing lights, mounting shelves, patching drywall, whatever people need. Back in the day, I took every job I could get, just to make ends meet, hustling, scraping by, stressing over bills. But things are different now. I've built a bit of a reputation. Clients ask for me by name. I don't work out of desperation anymore. I do it because I love it. This job gives me freedom. I set my own hours, steer clear of office politics. Who wouldn't want that, right? Life's pretty good now. I own a modest house, nothing fancy, but it's mine. A quiet street, friendly neighbors. The house has a small porch where I like to sip coffee and watch the sunset, but it hasn't always been smooth sailing. I was married once. We split 3 years ago. No big fights, no drama. We just wore each other out. The love faded quietly, like sand slipping through your fingers. We have a son, Ethan, who's 5. He lives with his mom, but I get him every weekend. Those days are my treasure. Ethan's my whole world. He's always running around, telling stories, asking a million questions. Dad, why is the sky blue? Dad, do dogs dream? I don't always have answers, but I try. When Ethan's with his mom, the house gets quiet, too quiet. I'm not one to complain, but some nights when it's just me and the TV, I feel empty. Not always, but the feeling creeps in. I miss having someone to share things with, someone to talk about the day with, to laugh over silly stuff. I'm not exactly lonely, but I crave something more, a real connection. Maybe that's why this story began. It was a Tuesday, cool, crisp air, not too chilly. I was in my beat-up truck, sipping coffee, scrolling through my job list on my phone. One job stood out. Replace 2 ceiling lights in a living room, mount a TV on the wall. $500, 2, maybe 3 hours of work. Easy money. I grinned, thinking, sweet gig. I hit accept and called the client. A woman answered, calm, polite, but with a softness to her voice. She introduced herself as Harper. She sounded young, maybe late 20s, early 30s. She gave me the address, said she'd be home all day. We set a time for 10 a.m. I hung up, but her voice lingered. There was something about the way she said thank you at the end. Not sad, exactly, but like she was holding something back. I drove to a newer neighborhood, where the houses were modern and tidy. Harper's address was easy to spot. The house stood out on the corner lot, neatly trimmed lawn, light gray siding, a small porch with a hanging chair and a pot of mint that gave off a faint, fresh scent. I thought, nice place. Either she just moved in, or she takes good care of it. I grabbed my clipboard, checked my notes, and knocked. The door opened, almost immediately. Harper stood there, brown hair tied up, gentle face, probably 28 or 29. She wore a gray sweater and jeans. Simple but put together. Smile was soft, but her eyes were bright, like she was sizing me up. Hi, you must be Caleb, she said, her voice matching the one on the phone. She stepped aside, inviting me in. I nodded. That's me. I'll take a look at the job before I get started. Inside, the house was bright and cozy. The living room was spacious, with light pouring through tall windows. Minimalist decor, a cream-colored sofa, a wooden coffee table, and an abstract painting with blue swirls on the wall. 2 outdated ceiling lights hung awkwardly, out of place in the room. A new TV, still in its box, leaned against the wall. Harper pointed. That's the TV I want mounted. The bracket's over there. She gestured to a small box on the floor. I nodded, jotting notes. Got it. Should be straightforward. I'll grab my tools from the truck and get to work. I came back with my toolbox. Harper was still there, arms crossed, watching me with curiosity. Most clients leave me to it. They make calls, cook, or watch TV. But Harper stayed, not hovering but like she was genuinely interested. How long have you been doing this? She asked, her voice soft. I looked up a bit surprised. Over 10 years. Started in my dad's garage fixing odds and ends. She nodded, her eyes lighting up. Sounds cool. Not like an office job, huh? I chuckled. Nope, thankfully. The conversation flowed from there. Not forced small talk. Something natural, like we'd known each other for a while. There was something in Harper's voice. Not just openness, but sincerity. She wasn't trying to seem cheerful, she was just herself. And in that moment, as I opened my toolbox, I thought, this job might not be as simple as I thought. Asterisk, I got to work, pulling out my drill and stud finder. Harper stood a few steps away, arms crossed, watching my every move. Not in a nitpicky way, but like she wanted to understand. So, how do you mount a TV? You have to find the right spot on the wall, she asked, genuinely curious. I glanced up, smiling. Exactly. I used the stud finder to hit the wooden frame. Drywall won't hold it. She nodded, her eyes sparking like she was taking mental notes. Makes sense. If I tried, the TV would probably crash. I laughed. You wouldn't be the first. And yeah, they usually call me when things go south. She laughed too, a light, genuine laugh that eased the room's tension. I kept working, checking the wall, marking drill points. Harper didn't leave. She pulled a chair from the dining table, sat down, and kept watching. "How'd you learn this trade?" she asked. I paused for a second, setting the drill down. Growing up, I'd tinker with my dad in the garage. Broken toys, busted bikes. I loved figuring things out. After high school, I tried an office job for a bit, but it wasn't for me. Sitting at a desk felt like a cage. So I went back to this. She nodded, like she got it. "Sounds like you found what you love. That's rare." I shrugged, tightening the final screw on the first ceiling. Light. Took a while. But yeah, I like it. Working with my hands, setting my own schedule, no office drama. She smiled, but this time it was a little distant. "Sounds nice, doing what you love. Not everyone gets that." Her voice dipped, like she was thinking about something deeper. I moved to the TV mount, opening the bracket box. Harper stood up, stepping closer, not too close, but enough for me to feel her presence. She wasn't just another client. There was something about her, questions, the way she listened. I felt at ease, but also different. Not some cheesy romantic vibe, but like we clicked in a way I hadn't expected. That as I drilled the first hole, she handed me a glass of water. "Here, you must be thirsty." She said it with a gentle look. I stopped, wiped my hands on my shirt, caught off guard. Not every client does that. "Thanks," I said, taking the glass. Our fingers brushed for a split second, and I caught a warmth in her eyes. Not flirtatious, but like she was sharing something through that small gesture. She sat on the edge of the sofa, watching me work. "Do you ever get bored with this? Doing the same stuff over and over?" I thought about it, setting the drill down. Not really. Every job's got its own quirks, and I like the rhythm of it. Drilling, leveling, it's soothing. Like meditation. She smiled, but this time it was tinged with fatigue. "Meditation with power tools, that's a good one. I wish I could find something to quiet my mind." A pause settled between us, not awkward but like we were letting the moment breathe. I kept working, securing the mount, checking the level. Harper stood, walked to the window and crossed her arms, looking outside. Then she spoke softly but clearly. "My ex-husband didn't think I needed a career. He said my creative projects were frivolous hobbies." I stopped, looking at her. Her back was straight, but her shoulders sagged slightly, like she was carrying an invisible weight. I didn't know how to respond, but I kept it light to ease the mood. "It sounds like he was a real inspirational speaker," I said with a small grin. She laughed, turning back to face me. "Oh, he was." Her smile faded fast. She stayed by the window, staring out. "We got divorced 3 years ago. Time flies, doesn't it? Especially when you're trying to forget something." I didn't reply right away. I knew this wasn't for empty comfort. She wasn't looking for pity. She just needed to share. "Do you have kids?" I asked, keeping my voice soft. She shook her head. "No, we tried, but it didn't happen." He blamed me. I blamed myself for a while. But in the end, I realized the real issue was we didn't loving each other right. Her voice quivered, but she didn't cry. It was just a truth, spoken aloud, like she'd held it in for too long. I leaned against the wall, letting the silence linger. I knew that feeling when a relationship crumbles not from fights but from emptiness. "I've got a son," I said, breaking the quiet. 5 years old. He's with me on weekends. I don't always know what I'm doing, but I try to show up for him. Hope that's enough." She turned back, leaning lightly against the window frame, and looked at me. "Showing up is a nice met," she said. "Not some movie romance, but a quiet understanding to people who'd been through enough, recognizing it in each other." I went back to the TV, sliding it onto the wall, tightening the bolts. Harper stepped closer. "I didn't mean to share so much," she said with a shy smile. "I don't usually talk like this with strangers." I looked at her, grinning. "I don't think we're strangers anymore." She nodded, her eyes softening. "Yeah, I guess not." I finished the job, stepping back to check the TV. All done. Level, secure, ready for Netflix marathons. She laughed loudly, the first time I'd seen her so relaxed. "Perfect, thank you." I started packing my tools. Harper stood there, watching. Then, as I grabbed my last screwdriver, she spoke, her voice small but weighty. "Can I ask you something?" I looked up, caught off guard. "Sure." She hesitated, her eyes searching mine. "Do you think I deserve to be happy?" The question hit like a stone in still water. Not casual, she meant seriously. I saw it in her eyes, her rawness, her vulnerability, like she was seeking a real answer. I stopped, set the screwdriver down, and looked straight at her. The room was quiet, just the faint ticking of a wall clock. "I don't know everything you've been through," I said carefully. "But from where I'm standing, yeah, I think you do." She looked at me, her eyes shimmering, but she didn't cry. She nodded once like she'd got what she needed. I finished packing in silence, not uncomfortable, but a new kind of quiet understanding. As I headed for the door, she followed. "Thank you, Caleb," she said softly, "for everything." I turned back, smiling. "Just a quick fix. She shook her head, a gentle smile. Maybe it was more than that. In the days after leaving Harper's house, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Not some swoony movie-style obsession. Just her question, her voice, the way her eyes looked when she said thank you. It stuck with me. I went through my jobs replacing locks, fixing leaks, but my mind wasn't fully there. I kept picturing Harper by the window, her shoulders slightly slumped, carrying a story she hadn't fully shared. I knew I had to do something, not because I wanted something, but because what we had didn't feel like a one-time thing by Thursday. I was in my truck, staring at Harper's number on my phone. I wanted to text, but I hesitated, worried I was reading too much into it. Worried she was just being polite, and I was overthinking, but then I remembered her eyes when I said she deserved happiness. There was something real there. I took a breath, typed a message. Hey Harper, lights and TV, still good. If you're free, want to grab coffee this Sunday? No pressure. I hit send, my heart beating a little faster. Less than 5 minutes later, my phone lit up. Harper replied, I'd like that. There's a little place near the park on Elm Street, 6 p.m. okay? Loki. I smiled, texting back right away. See you there. Sunday came. I got to the coffee shop 15 minutes early, as usual. Small, cozy spot with mismatched chairs and fairy lights strung across the patio. The air smelled of fresh roasted coffee. I grabbed an outdoor table, ordered a black coffee and waited. Harper, you showed up right on time, in jeans, a navy jacket, and her hair loose. She looked relaxed, but there was a hint of nervousness in her smile. Hey, she said, sitting down. Hey, I replied. Thanks for coming. The server brought her coffee. We sipped in silence for a bit, settling into the new setting. This wasn't a job anymore. This was something else. Harper broke the silence first. I almost didn't come, she said softly. Not because I didn't want to, just I wasn't sure I was ready for anything. I nodded, knowing the feeling. I wasn't sure when I texted either, but I kept thinking about your question. It made me want to know more. She looked down at her coffee, her fingers tracing the rim of the mug. I don't share a lot usually, but this time, I want to try. She took a breath, then opened up. She'd been married for 6 years, starting young. Her ex was charming at first, full of promises. But after the wedding, things changed. He didn't like her pursuing creative work. He wanted her to settle down, to give up her ambitions. He said my dreams made him feel inadequate, she said, her voice low. Then I found out he was cheating. 2 years into the marriage, I stayed thinking I could fix it, but I couldn't. I listened, not interrupting. I knew what it was like to try to save something broken. I've been there, I said when she paused. Married at 25, had Ethan a year later. He's the best thing ever. But the marriage, we were just roommates. No fights, but no spark either. We split because we both knew it wasn't working. Harper nodded, like she saw herself in the story. She touched my hand lightly, just for a second, but it felt real. Now you see me, she said softly. I looked at her saying nothing, just letting the moment sink in. We left the coffee shop as the sky darkened. No official date, but we both knew something had started. I'll walk you to your car, I offered. She smiled, nodding at her car. She turned to me. This was really nice, Caleb. Thanks for texting. Thanks for saying yes, I replied. For a split second I thought about leaning in to kiss her, but I didn't. I just said, good night, Harper. She smiled. Good night, Caleb. The next week dragged on. I worked, but my mind kept drifting to Harper. Our short texts, a quick question, a light joke kept things easy, but I could tell we were both being careful. Then, on Saturday, as I ate lunch on my porch, my phone lit up. A text from Harper. Crazy idea. Call me when you're free. I called right away. She answered, her voice tinged with excitement and nerves. I've got this trip to China, booked months ago. My friend bailed last minute. I was going to cancel, but Caleb, would you come with me? I froze, not out of doubt, but from the sheer surprise. We'd only known each other for less than a month, but the idea didn't scare me. It thrilled me. When's the flight? I asked. Monday night, she replied. I'm in, I said, not overthinking it. She laughed, like she couldn't believe it. Really Monday. I met Harper at the airport. She stood by a window, her bag at her feet, her eyes lighting up when she saw me. You actually came, she said, like she still couldn't quite believe it. You invited me, I replied, grinning. The 12-hour flight to Beijing was long, but we talked the whole time about family, work, old dreams. At one point, she told me about wanting to visit China as a kid, seeing a picture of the Great Wall in a book. I told her about Ethan, how he makes me laugh every single day. When we landed, Beijing hit us with honking horns, thick air, and buzzing energy. Harper had planned everything. A small, simple hotel on a narrow street, 2 single beds. She looked at me, smirking, keeping it chill. Okay, totally agree, I said, laughing. Day 1, we explored the Temple of Heaven and wandered through narrow hutong alleys. Harper tried a fried dumpling from a street cart, making a funny face when she bit into one too hot. She was alive, curious, like someone set free. Day 2, we hiked a quiet section of the Great Wall. The wind whipped around, messing up Harper's hair. She slipped on a rock, laughing hard. This is insane. I can't believe I'm here. Me neither, I said, catching up to her. But I'm glad we are. Asterisk, we sat on the wall, sipping warm water from plastic bottles, looking out over the green valley. Harper turned to me. I almost didn't text you about this. I sat there for hours, thinking I was nuts. I grinned. Maybe you are, but it's the good kind of nuts. She laughed, nudging my shoulder. The next days we took a train to Suzhou, cruised canals, and visited ancient gardens. Every night we talked late, sometimes in hotel lobbies, sometimes on street corners. Nothing crossed lines, and that made it feel more real. On the sixth night, in a tea house in Chengdu with rain pattering outside, Harper looked at me. I've never felt this close to someone I just met. I nodded. Time doesn't decide that. Sometimes one moment's all it takes. She nodded, setting down her tea. I don't want this to end when we go home. Me neither, I said. No kiss, no movie soundtrack. Just a quiet promise between two people who'd found each other. The flight back to Denver was quieter, not because we'd run out of things to say, but because we'd said so much. The long talks, the moments on the Great Wall, by canals, in that little Chengdu tea house, they brought us closer. I glanced at Harper, sitting by the plane window, gazing at the clouds. We didn't need to talk much. There was a comfort in the quiet, like we already understood each other. When we landed in Denver, it was dusk. We shared a taxi to Harper's place. In the car, neither of us rushed to speak. She looked out the window, her fingers tapping her bag. This is where I'd usually go inside and act like nothing happened, she said, half joking. I turned to her, catching her eyes. Is that what you want? She paused, then slowly unbuckled her seatbelt. No, it's not. She leaned over, kissing my cheek softly. Not rushed, not Hollywood, but like a promise. Text me when you're home, she said. I'll call, I replied. She smiled, got out, and I watched her walk inside. The door closed, I stood in my kitchen, holding my phone. 5 minutes passed, just staring at the screen. Then I called. Hey, Harper answered, her voice soft. I'm home, I said. Me too, I smiled. Silence, but not heavy. It was the moment we both knew this could be real. What now? I asked, cautious. She paused, then said, I'm thinking. Maybe I cook dinner next weekend. Nothing fancy. Bring Ethan. That hit me, not with fear, but with weight. Ethan's my everything, and Harper wanted to meet him. You sure? I asked if this is real. I think it is, and I want to be part of it all. Not just the trips or the easy stuff. All of it. I took a breath. Okay, we'll come. Saturday I brought Ethan to Harper's. He was shy at first, clinging to my hand. Harper didn't push. She let him warm up. She had juice ready, made homemade mac and cheese, even let him sit on the counter while she cooked. By the end, Ethan was bragging about counting to 110, and Harper laughed like she'd known him forever. No show, no strain, just a simple, right start. Weeks passed, then months. We saw each other regularly. Some weekends with Ethan, some just us. It felt natural, unhurried. I helped Harper build shelves in her home office. She came to Ethan, a soccer game, cheering loud even though they got creamed. She met my mom at Thanksgiving, laughing hard at mom's embarrassing stories about me. No drama, no complications. Just two people building something solid. 3 months in, Harper called me over. She stood in her kitchen, holding a pregnancy test, eyes full of worry. I'm pregnant, she said, her voice shaking. I was scared, but we sat together, staring at those two clear lines, and I held her hand. We'll figure it out, together, and we did. We got married the next spring, in a simple backyard ceremony, just family and a few friends. Ethan walked down the aisle, holding the ring box with a huge grin. Harper wore a simple white dress. I wore a navy suit. Jitters, just peace. Now, 3 years later, I'm sitting on the porch watching the sunset. Harper's inside, humming to our 1-year-old daughter, Nora. Ethan's in the yard, trying to teach our dog to catch a frisbee. Not going great, but he's patient. I think back to that day, that $500 job, a simple fix, replace lights, mount a TV. I showed up to work, but I left with a whole new life. Our love wasn't a lightning bolt. No love at first sight, no wild passion. We met, listened, built something together. Small steps, real moments. Who'd have thought a handyman job would lead me here? But life's how it goes. Sometimes, the smallest choices spark the biggest changes. This is my story, but I believe everyone has moments like these that shift everything around them. Have you had one? A chance encounter, a bold choice, or a single word that changed it all? Share your story in the comments under this video on our YouTube channel, True Tales. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to catch more stories that inspire. Every week we bring you a new tale, reminding you that life's magic is always hiding in the moments. Keep exploring. Your story could be next.